Hey guys, welcome back to another Clash Royale video, and today we're going to be talking about the next round of balance changes in Clash Royale, which should hopefully be coming out soon, as this season is already almost over, and I have some official information for you guys regarding cards that will be changed or won't be changed in the next balance update. So if you're interested, guys, stick around. I have some official news for you. So diving into that news, guys, over here, I have the Clash Royale Reddit pulled up. If you guys missed this post from earlier on this month, guys, the Supercell community team suggested two cards that would be changed in the future, the Executioner and the Fisherman. For the Fisherman, they suggested that he might be able to hit air in the future, and for the Executioner, they had an entire redesign planned where he was able to deal a ton more damage, but would have a reduced attack speed, a reduced health, and a shorter attack range. So that was kind of like the rework for the Executioner they had planned, was a ton more damage to make it more of a kind of fireball bait counter card. So those are the kind of two cards I kind of mentioned earlier on this month. Diving into the official news here, guys. For the Executioner, it's basically confirmed now that it will be changed in September, because Seth right here says ideally Executioner will provide further options for range attackers. Looking forward to next month's meta. So Executioner basically confirmed. The other card here, guys, is the P.E.K.K.A, who Seth says, by the way, Seth is the main balance guy over in the Clash Royale team. He says 90% chance the P.E.K.K.A will go to medium range next month. So basically P.E.K.K.A nerf confirmed for the month of September. The third card here, guys, is the Fisherman. Remember how I just said previously that they suggested hitting air units? Seth right here, guys, yesterday, I believe, confirmed that the Fisherman will not hit air. All right? So they tested it. They did not like how it worked out, so it will not be hitting air units. Basically, he mentioned that there was countless visual bugs, and it just kind of didn't really feel right having a melee card hitting air. However, he does confirm that there are additional buffs still coming for that Fisherman. He'll just remain ground only as well. So no hitting air with Fisherman, but other buffs as well. The fourth card confirmed here, guys, is the Barbarian Barrel, who got a huge nerf in August, and obviously has had a huge drop in use rate since then. However, Seth does confirm that there will be no further change for Barbarian Barrel in September. They want to let it sit for an additional month, as he thinks Barbarian Barrel could bounce back on its own. So no change for Barbarian Barrel coming. Next card, guys, is the Magic Archer, who also got a pretty big buff in August, and is also a very, very strong card right now. However, Seth confirms that there is no change planned for the Magic Archer in the month of September. They're pretty happy with it overall, because previously the Baby Dragon was like super popular and super OP, but the Magic Archer now has taken over a lot of that role of a splash damage card in a lot of decks. So overall, it's a lot healthier right now than it was before. And then finally over here, we have a discussion regarding the Goblin Cage. The Goblin Cage, guys, if you guys didn't know, is one of the strongest cards in Clash Royale right now, hands down. And Seth basically confirms that they are aware of the strength of the Goblin Cage, and he suggests perhaps the Brawler should be less powerful or less healthy, but they do want to keep the cage itself at a 20-second duration. So potentially a nerf to the damage or the health of the Goblin Brawler. Maybe not in September, but potentially in the future after that. So that is the kind of official news on balance changes in September. Is 90% chance of a P.E.K.K.A nerf. Executioner rework basically confirmed. Fisherman buff confirmed. Barbarian Barrel no change. Magic Archer no change. And potentially a Goblin Cage nerf in the future. I found one more kind of like interesting news here, or information for you guys, regarding the Witch. Okay, this is a separate post by Drew, the Clash Royale community manager over on Reddit, where he basically confirms that they have a Witch rework planned to come in October, which is a really kind of interesting idea here, because obviously the Witch is a pretty controversial card in Clash Royale. But it says here, guys, that they're currently playtesting it. It looks pretty solid, and it changes some fundamental aspects of the card. So we have an Executioner rework in September, potentially a Witch rework in October. What do you guys think? I know the Witch is a super controversial card, but what do you think if they redesigned the Witch? What would you want to see her change, and how? All right? So that is the kind of official news, guys. P.E.K.K.A nerf, Fisherman buff, Executioner buff, Barbarian change, no. Magic Archer change, no. Goblin Brawler, maybe. And Witch in October. Alright? So that is the end of the official news, guys. Now, I want to go ahead here and dive into my personal balance change wish list. All of the cards that I want to see buffed or nerfed in the next balance update. And I'm going to try my best here, guys, to not mention any of the cards that were mentioned during the Supercell news portion. However, one exception is the P.E.K.K.A. And I want to talk about the P.E.K.K.A, guys, because the P.E.K.K.A right now is absolutely insane. Hands down, I think, one of the strongest cards in Clash Royale right now, and one of the most annoying cards in the current meta. Like, the P.E.K.K.A, in my opinion, should just go back to the way it was before the August update. I hope if the medium range nerf in September isn't enough, I hope they consider just kind of undoing the change overall. Because personally, I kind of think the P.E.K.K.A was perfectly balanced before they changed it in August. So hopefully, if the medium range isn't enough, hopefully they consider kind of going back to the way it was in August. Because right now, it's just way too popular of a card. Taking a look at this list right here, this is a list of the most popular decks right now being played on the top 1,000 leaderboard. And take a look at how many times the P.E.K.K.A appears. P.E.K.K.A right here, P.E.K.K.A, 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 P.E.K.K.A again, P.E.K.K.A again, P.E.K.K.A again, P.E.K.K.A, P.E.K.K.A again. The P.E.K.K.A is literally everywhere right now. I would say this season in August, 90% of my battles are either against a P.E.K.K.A deck or an Expo deck. And it's absurd. So definitely I think a P.E.K.K.A nerf is justified, or just kind of undo the changes overall. So that's card number one, guys. Wishlist number one is P.E.K.K.A. Number two is going to be a pretty controversial one here, is the Expo. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. Shane, you just suck. Expo's fine. Get good. All right? I understand, guys. Yes, I agree. I should get good. However, I think it's time that the Expo gets a redesign as well. Now, I don't think it needs a nerf per se, but what I want to see with the Expo is I want to see it become more offensive and less defensive. What I suggest, guys, is they reduce the lifetime duration of the Expo by 10 seconds or more, but increase other stats accordingly. Because I think my main issue with the Expo is how defensive it is and the ability for your opponent to stack Expos on defense, then have 2 or 3 Expos at once because they last for so long. Taking a look right here, guys, this is a list of the most popular decks on the top 1,000 leaderboard in Clash Royale in the past 24 hours. And Expo, by far, is the #1 most popular deck in the game. It's been used for 2,700 battles in the past 24 hours over the top 1,000 leaderboard. That is over double of the second most popular deck. That is over 2 times as popular as the second most popular deck, guys. That's insane. And it's over 3 times more popular than the third place deck. That is just how popular Expo is, guys. It is everywhere. Now, the problem with that is this number right here, 15% draws, okay? Most other decks in the game are around a 3 to 5% draw rate, as you can see over here. But here's Expo up here, guys, with a 15% draw rate. Now, the whole argument here, my argument, is that a deck that has a 15% draw rate shouldn't be the most popular deck in the game. I don't think it's healthy overall for Clash Royale. It's such a slow defensive card. Whenever you go into a battle versus Expo, you know it's going to be a 7-minute battle, right? So my idea for Expo here, guys, is make it less defensive, more offensive. Either decrease the duration by 10 seconds so you can't stack Expos on defense, or reduce the range by 1 tile so your opponent can't drop troops directly in front of it. Or another kind of crazy idea here for Expo is increase the size of the hitbox. This is a weird one because one thing I've noticed with the Expo in particular is that it has a kind of weirdly small hitbox where you can have a unit kind of directly in front of the Expo and your opponent uses archers next to it, and your unit will attack the archers instead of the Expo because the Expo has a small hit radius. What if they kind of made the hitbox bigger so that your troops weren't as easily distracted. All right. So those are my 3 ideas for nerfs: is reduce health, or sorry, reduce duration, reduce attack range, or increase the hitbox. To compensate, obviously they would either increase the health or attack damage if they did one of those nerfs as well, because it needs to be a net negative change, just more offensive instead of defensive, but not overall like a nerf overall, if that makes sense. All right. So those are kind of like the 2 cards on my nerf list, is P.E.K.K.A. and Expo. Jumping into my buff list here, guys, we have number 1 is the Royal Recruits. I mention them every single month when I do one of these balanced wish list videos. They still have 0% use rate. Like just literally one of the worst cards in the game, hands down, for a while, okay? They need something. They need some sort of change. I would suggest giving them more damage, or just make them worth 7 elixir, because it's been too long now having the recruits at the bottom of the list. Obviously, Fisherman, we already know is getting changed. Wall Breakers is another one on my list right here, guys. Obviously, I've mentioned it before in every single video in the past. They just aren't good. So I think they should have a death bomb, is what I keep saying. That's my idea there. The next one on my list, guys, is the Valkyrie. The Valkyrie went from being very, very strong before the August balance update. Obviously, she had that bug where she was hitting a lot further range than she should have. But it appears the bug fix has severely hurt her stats, and now she has a 34% win rate. So I definitely feel like they should do a small buff for the Valkyrie to compensate for that bug fix earlier on in August. The next card on my list, guys, is going to be the Night Witch. This is a very interesting card because the Night Witch, for the most part, is only ever used in that one Golem deck, all right? Just that one Golem deck is where the Night Witch is popular in. Outside of that, you don't really see her at all. So I definitely think they should do a bit of a kind of like buff or rework of the Night Witch as well to kind of make her more viable in a wider variety of decks. But she definitely is on my list because she's a really cool card, and I would like to kind of see her kind of be a bit more popular, especially with the Executioner redesign coming. If Executioner is as popular as it might be, you know, Executioner obviously hard counters Night Witch, so maybe she does need a bit of a buff as well to compensate for the Executioner change as well. And then final card, guys, on my buff list right here is the Zappies. Still, once again, here we are nearing the end of 2019, and I think it's been 1 year now since the Zappies change, and they just still aren't that good. So I definitely think we should do a bit of a buff for the Zappies as well. But that is the end of my list, guys. That's the end of my balanced wish list. We have, what, 8 cards in there? Expo nerf, redesign. I shouldn't say nerf. P.E.K.K.A. nerf for sure. Royal Recruits buff, Wall Breakers buff, Valkyrie buff, Night Witch buff, and the Zappies buff as well. That was 8 cards, wasn't it? That was 7 cards. We need 1 more card to make 8. What's my last card, guys, for 8? How about the Ghost? That's my 8th card right there, guys, the Ghost. Royal Ghost, give it a buff. There we go, 8 cards. Also, one kind of thing I want to mention here at the end of this kind of list, not really a balance change per se, but I would love to see the new cards that are added to Clash Royale be a little bit stronger on release. I've noticed kind of throughout 2019 especially, that there is a kind of like trend of kind of releasing weak, underpowered cards, then waiting several months for them to be viable. You know, perfect example here is the Fisherman or the Wall Breakers, who Wall Breakers came out in February and are still a just kind of very, very weak card overall. I mentioned this in last month's video, but I feel like because we have like 95 cards, or 94 cards, sorry, in Clash Royale, because we have 94 cards already in the game, adding a new card should be meaningful and impactful into the meta. Otherwise, what's the point of adding a new card? When you almost have 100 cards in Clash Royale, what's the point of adding new cards if they aren't going to be good, right? We already have a ton of cards down here in what I call the card graveyard, where kind of cards kind of go down to die and live out the rest of their days, where they kind of just aren't viable and aren't good. I definitely feel like new cards added into the game should be quite a bit stronger than what they are right now. Fisherman has a 30% win rate. Wall Breakers 25% win rate. Just too low, in my opinion, for some of the newest cards added into Clash Royale. I think new cards should be a lot more impactful and stronger into the meta. But obviously, that's my opinion. Let me know if you guys disagree. Do you guys prefer if the new cards are weak? Or do you prefer if the new cards are, decent? I'm not saying make them broken. Don't make them brokenly strong. Don't make them overpowered and busted. But just make them viable, in my opinion, right? Just make them, if they are a bit too strong, that's okay. Versus being too weak and taking several months to buff. That's what I prefer. But obviously, let me know if you guys disagree. But yeah, guys, that is the end of my wish list. P.E.K.K.A. Nerf and Expo redesign are my main two. The reason I said that, guys, is this month in particular, I've noticed that Expo and P.E.K.K.A. are everywhere. Like 80% of my battles are P.E.K.K.A. decks and Expo decks. And I gotta say with you guys, to be honest with you right here, I gotta say that August, the August meta was some of the least fun I've had in Clash Royale in a very long time. And I normally don't say that. Like, normally everyone's like, oh, this meta sucks. This is the worst meta ever. Like, they say that every meta. But I gotta say, honestly, August has been pretty rough, I feel like, for the meta. Just Expos everywhere, P.E.K.K.A's everywhere. Like, going 3 or 4 battles in a row versus P.E.K.K.A., then facing Expo like 2 or 3 battles in a row. I just find it to be a bit stale very, very quickly. Just seeing those 2 cards in particular so much. So hopefully, a couple of changes in September should hopefully kind of shake up the meta a bit when we start seeing some different strategies be viable. But guys, that is the end of my balanced wish list. Once again, the confirmed kind of news we have is Executioner redesign, basically confirmed for September. P.E.K.K.A. range nerf basically confirmed, and then we have Fisherman buff confirmed but not hitting air. Barbarian Barrel will not be changed. The Magic Archer will not be changed. The Goblin Brawler is on their radar, and the Witch potentially getting a redesign in October. What do you guys think of that one? I know that one in particular might be pretty controversial. Like I said before, guys, if they do redesign the Witch, what is your idea for redesigning her? What would you want to see her do? Okay? If they redesign her, what would you want to see her do? Right? Leave your ideas down below and leave your feedback to any of my balanced wish lists, guys, down below. If you want to say, Shane, you're a scrub, Expo's fine, get good, say that. I'm okay with that. I understand. I agree. If you want to say, Shane, P.E.K.K.A's fine, get good, I agree as well. However, if you want to say, Shane, I agree with you, P.E.K.K.A's everywhere, Expo's everywhere, I agree with you. I would appreciate that as well, guys. I don't know, guys. If you had, I'm going to finish this up with this last question here. If you had 10 cards, I'm going to give you 10. Actually, no. I'm going to give you 8 cards. If you had 8 cards, only 8 cards to change in September, what 8 cards would you buff, nerf, or redesign? What is your ideal balanced wish list for the month of September? And overall, kind of like not really related to balance, what are you hoping to see in the remainder of this year in terms of updates and features? How are you feeling about Clash Royale right now? Personally, I gotta say, like I said before, guys, August was one of the least fun months in Clash Royale for me just because of the meta being so repetitive. But what about you guys? What do you think of Clash Royale right now? What are you hoping to see in 2019 before the year is finished in terms of features and updates? But anyways, guys, I'm rambling now, and I apologize. That is the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe for the Clash Royale content. Thank you so much for watching. We shall see you in the next one.